Hello, I'm Henry.
And I'm Trey, and welcome to Marvelous, a Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast.
A podcast where we go through the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe in order of release. And today we are going to be covering Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, Episodes 3 through 6.
That is correct.
Indeed. Yes, we cover TV shows in bundles because we really want to focus a little bit more heavily on the movies. But of course, we're going to cover S.H.I.E.L.D. as well.
So Henry, tell me about Episode 3.
Alright, Trey, let me tell you about Episode 3 titled The Asset. It begins with trucks and something's making them float. The mysterious material gravitonium is causing mayhem all around the world because of this weird man, a rich man named Quinn. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents must stop Quinn at all costs in this episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Sounds like a very exciting episode.
I know, it's amazing.
What are your thoughts on the episode, Henry?
Okay, first off, I just have to say, I hate anything that involves a new element that got created, except for it was done pretty well in Iron Man 2. But gravitonium is stupid and makes no sense, and I don't like it.
It was not done well in Iron Man 2. We totally ragged on that.
Better. How he made it in Iron Man 2 was stupid, because he made it way too easily. But the idea of a new element that could power his arc reactors is one thing, but this new gigantic atom thing that controls gravity? My science, it hurts.
But they didn't create the element, he found it. So technically, they're just mining for the element, and they found it in this world.
But none of that, you can't find the heavy elements in nature. They're unstable. Also, they made it look like they had one atom of the element that was like a centimeter in diameter, which makes no sense, and I don't know. And it was weird. But they had good effects in the episode.
What do you mean you can't find it? How else do you get it?
Particle accelerators?
I don't know what that means.
Well, this is going way off track. So, a lot of the elements in the periodic table that are way up there in the high numbers, like element 118 and stuff like that, those are all man-made. Like, they might occur in supernovas for, quarters of a second or less, but for us to experiment on them, we have to make them.
So how do you know gravitonium is one of them?
Because you can only go up. You can't have an element that is lighter than the element in the periodic table. It can only get heavier.
Okay.
Also, wouldn't manipulate gravity like that. What?
I'm sure that the science is very flawed, but I don't care about the science. I'm just here for the show.
I do. Well, this is Skye's also first mission as an agent, where she actually goes in the field and handles a gun poorly, but she handles a gun, and that part's good. I have a lot of little things to say, but overall, I like Skye in the episode, but the plot bothered me.
Okay, I completely disagree.
Well, tell me about your opinions then.
I really like this episode. I think everything from Skye's allegiance with Rising Tide versus S.H.I.E.L.D. to her training with Ward to the gravitonium being, even if it's not scientifically accurate, a very interesting concept of what the heck is going on. And the villain was pretty compelling. Or maybe not compelling, but you understand his motives and you can tell why he thinks he's right. And you can see why he doesn't see himself as the bad guy. And a lot of people could even agree with him. I think this episode handles the characters and the plot very well. So I really like this episode. Should we get into the details?
Yeah, so now we have Ward as Skye's SO, and he's training her, and she keeps running away and not wanting to be trained.
Yeah, she's complaining about training a lot, which is interesting.
It's kind of funny.
It is,
but in this episode, she learns how important and practical the skills she learns are.
And we learn very quickly. Well, actually, we don't completely learn, but Ward says that the truth serum was a fake. And Coulson doesn't confirm nor deny. And then at the end, Skye's like, I know it wasn't really a fake, so it's still up in the air, but it suggested at least that it was all a fake at this point.
Yeah, it's really interesting how Skye and Ward's relationship slowly builds. You can see that they really care for each other, and it's really opening up Ward, who isn't really a people person, and it's really allowing Skye to build trust with someone. Also, her trust with Coulson is slowly building during this whole thing.
That's true. I don't know if you'd say that about specifically this episode, but it seems to happen over the episodes at least.
I can't remember exactly how it ends, but I feel like Skye begins to accept Ward as a mentor and trust him a lot more by the end of the episode.
Yeah, you do see a bit of that in this episode, which I think we'll get into a little more later.
Indeed, that's a common trend in all the episodes we're covering today.
Yeah, so this episode brings us a really quirky CEO of a company who's like very morally gray. And his name is Ian Quinn, and he's basically controlling this gravitonium and trying to build a massive machine that can, I guess, destroy big parts of society.
No, I think he wants to use it for mining. He just wants to get super rich. He doesn't want to destroy things, I think.
What? But
yeah, like sucking oil out of the ground or like sucking metals out of the ground and things like that, I think.
You're telling me this machine that would destroy his whole island would just easily mine things with no...
It depends how you use it. It's like a nuclear reactor supplying electricity. Quinn wants to use it to make energy. The professor is making it melt down to destroy everything so no one can use it. He didn't want S.H.I.E.L.D. to have it either because he figured S.H.I.E.L.D. would use it to make weapons, and they probably would have.
But he was just activating the machine. It didn't seem like it would have done something different.
I think he was overloading the machine.
I did not get that, if that's what was happening.
Yeah, I think it was, or at least he was... Like, clearly, Quinn didn't want to destroy his own private island. The professor was using it incorrectly, I guess.
Well, anyways, Quinn steals the professor guy because he's like, you will want to make this gravitonium work.
But Quinn only found out the professor was in those trucks in the beginning that were floating around because the professor himself leaked the information to get closer to Quinn. Dun dun dun, what a twist!
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap. Crackle pop.
Yeah. And Quinn's, like, residing on this country that S.H.I.E.L.D. can't go to.
I think it's Malta.
So S.H.I.E.L.D. can't go into this country, so Skye, the only non-S.H.I.E.L.D. agent there, has to go in herself.
Dun dun dun.
Which creates for a very compelling plot where she's basically sneaking into this high-tech facility because she managed to get an invitation through Rising Tide, and she has to go on the DL and do some spy work behind the CEO's, or behind Ian Quinn's back.
And it's funny that her secret identity is her old identity. And this is another common theme in the first two episodes, when we're trying to figure out whether Skye is loyal to S.H.I.E.L.D. or not.
Yeah, that was one of the main questions of this episode was, is Skye being a double agent for S.H.I.E.L.D. or against S.H.I.E.L.D. right now? Which I guess I think is a very exciting plot.
It is indeed a compelling narrative, but since she is the protagonist of our TV show, I was pretty certain she was not going to betray them.
Well, it's hard to tell because Ian Quinn catches her when she's snooping around, and she literally writes down on a piece of paper, S.H.I.E.L.D. is listening, like, stop, and basically makes it seem like she is working against S.H.I.E.L.D. because he did make her an offer for a job doing her Rising Tide work for him.
This is true, but as soon as she had the opportunity to let Fitz hack their security system, she did. It's actually kind of funny that while she was on the inside, she had Fitz hack the security system from the outside. You think that her mission would be to go in and hack it herself or something, since she's the hacker of the group.
I guess.
Yeah, this is one of the weird things about early S.H.I.E.L.D. is that Skye and Fitz are a little bit redundant at times, where one of them's the hacker at some points and the other one's the hacker at others. But as Skye slowly develops into more of a, into more of an agent and a spy, she concedes most of those roles to Fitz instead.
I didn't think about that at all.
Well, that's what I think.
I guess that's a point. I did think it was interesting, though, how easily Skye just ignored what Quinn was saying about S.H.I.E.L.D., though, because he was talking about how S.H.I.E.L.D. offers a home to people with nowhere to turn to, and how she fits their profile by having, like, no parents and no one to turn to, which is all
true.
It is true, yeah. So that's why, like, I'm surprised it didn't hit home more, and that she didn't, like, listen more to what he was saying. She just still took S.H.I.E.L.D. as her home type place and kept her allegiance with them for the episode.
Yeah, they definitely set up in episode 2 that Skye could totally be a double agent. So her supporting S.H.I.E.L.D. with seemingly no question seems a little surprising. I figured her motives would be a little bit more questionable at this point, but it didn't appear to be that way.
Yeah, same. Though, unless we take this as, like, she's still trying to get closer to S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't really know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, especially because I can't remember if there's a climax to the Rising Tide arc with Skye, other than what happens in episode 5.
Yeah, I don't remember either if that's the end of it.
Which is good, because we're going in with fresh eyes yet again.
Yes. So, during this scene, Skye manages to get S.H.I.E.L.D. connected to their security system so that Fitz can allow Coulson and Ward to break in. And Coulson finds the professor that he's searching for. Woo. But the professor's like, no, I want to stay. And
Coulson's like, oh, that wasn't in the plan.
Yeah. And then that's when we find out that the professor wants to just blow up the entire compound with Quinn in it and everybody on it in order to stop Quinn.
I don't think he wanted to blow it up. I think he wanted to kind of have it implode and sink. It's like the opposite. But still just as destructive.
It was a figure of speech.
I had to clarify because the science of gravitonium is very important, Stray.
Sure, Henry, sure. Yeah, but we find out that he wants to cause all this destruction just to stop Quinn or anyone else from having their hands on this device and on this element, because he says that he's saving millions by doing this.
I think he said something along those lines. He just didn't trust this technology being in the hands of anyone, even S.H.I.E.L.D. He just figured it would eventually, even if it wasn't Quinn, it would eventually be made into weapons, and it would eventually be used to kill massive amounts of people.
Yeah, I like how he puts the blame on S.H.I.E.L.D. correctly for being just as guilty about technology, referencing the Tesseract.
Yeah, and Skye's whole storyline of why she doesn't trust S.H.I.E.L.D. It's clear that S.H.I.E.L.D. has secrets and weapons programs that they don't want anyone to know about.
Yeah, because he's like, your search for a power source brought an alien invasion upon us. And Coulson's like, fair point.
You aren't wrong, sir.
During this time, we cut back to Skye, who is basically owning up to the fact that she betrayed Quinn, and Quinn's like, how dare you, and points a gun at her, and he's like, S.H.I.E.L.D. left you with nothing, and then she uses the technique that Ward and her had been training on the entire episode to get the gun out of his hands, which I freaking loved.
Yeah, I like that, but what I like even more is when Quinn's like, do you have what it takes to pull the trigger? And then she's like, nope, and then just jumps out of the window.
Yeah, and into the pool. I agree, I love that too, also because it's echoing Ward's sentiment from earlier in the episode when he's like, taking the gun is one thing, pulling the trigger is completely different. And then she still can't pull the trigger. She's just like, nope, can't do it. Jumping off the balcony into the pool.
Can't do it. But at least she's learning.
Yeah, and
even if it's just the one skill.
Just because they really set it up like Ward's gonna save her, and instead of being the damsel, she actually manages to get out of the situation herself, which I really appreciate.
Indeed.
And then gravity goes all haywire, and that's fun because they're walking on walls and on the ceiling.
Yeah, they did really good effects with this episode, and I'd like to see the behind-the-scenes stuff of it.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen something about it, but I don't remember.
I've seen how they've done it in other movies, like Inception, by like making giant rotating rooms, but I don't know if that's what they did this time.
Yeah, then the really interesting crux of this episode, I guess, is the climax when Coulson's like, yeah, you made a hard call by killing all the people in this building in order to save millions. And then he makes his own hard call by shooting the window and causing the professor to be the catalyst for shutting down the machine.
Yeah, by falling into it.
Yeah.
Essentially killing him. Or not, says the post-credit scene.
Yeah. So I think this is a really good like plot line. Like it was a cool way to do it, but I'm also like, was this necessary?
Yeah, it was pretty aggressive.
Like, I feel like you could have just like pushed a desk down into there or something.
I was just thinking the same thing.
So like, especially since he struggles with the morals of it afterwards, like, and people are like, he made his choice, and I'm like, yeah, he did. And I get that it was like he dug his own grave, but you didn't actually need to kill him, so...
Yeah. Plus, really quickly, can we just talk about the fact that he was the asset that they were literally carting around the country to hide from people? Like, he had no life anymore. He was just this guy that was being hidden around all the time. How depressing is that? No wonder he wanted to escape.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
I didn't either until right now, and I'm like, wow, that's a horrible life.
Yeah.
I know one thing about this gravitonium thing that no one has, and now I'm imprisoned for life. Great.
Yeah. But even though it's kind of flawed that he just kind of straight up murdered the guy who's being all fanatical about the device, I still think it's well done.
Yeah. And then at the end, they lock away the gravitonium in some base in some desert or something.
Yeah, and he says that they don't want to put it in the slingshot, and I don't really know why. Like, I mean,
I don't know. It messes with gravity. It could fuck up everything.
and that's the only thing I could think of. But but the slingshot just seems like how you destroy things. So I don't know. I'm just like,
I don't know.
He's like, this is what the professor would have wanted, and I'm like, no, he wanted to.
No, he specifically didn't want S.H.I.E.L.D. to have it.
He wanted it destroyed and blowing up the entire island with it. But okay.
Yeah. But then at the end of the episode, we have his like hand reaching out of the gravitonium. So, is he alive? Who knows? Maybe we'll find out later.
Yeah, which I don't actually remember what happens with that.
I can't remember either, but I think I know. I mean, I think it comes back. Really quickly, one other thing about things that are locked away and should or shouldn't they come back. The Abomination. S.H.I.E.L.D. apparently has him somewhere.
Yeah. So to touch back on what you were talking about with Skye and Ward, they did have those scenes with like, you have to make it personal in order to get through to her and like allow her to trust you enough to train you. And he does get personal with her. He tells her a story about his brothers and something about cake that happened.
Oh, yeah.
Which I was wondering if that's why Skye made her choice. Because when Quinn was like talking badly about S.H.I.E.L.D., she was like, yeah, but they're also are a place for something to do with cake. I don't know.
Yeah, she was... Yeah, she's like, yeah, but they're not, like, all bad. They're good people. Like, and then she awkwardly and poorly explains Ward's backstory.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was funny, and it made me wonder if him being personal with her is what made her choose S.H.I.E.L.D. in this episode.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, because they both have, like, dark family histories, and she probably really connected to him because of that.
Yeah, and we also find out her family history more in this episode because she talks about going through different foster homes and being really hurt by trying to connect with a specific parents, but being sent back after a month because it just wasn't the right fit.
Yeah, like she tried to call one of the foster moms mom, and then it wasn't a good fit, and that's horribly sad.
Yeah, and one other big character plotline in this episode that we didn't touch on is Agent May, because she makes a big deal about not wanting to go into the field, but she also doesn't want Coulson to go. And then by the end, she's like, I never want to stand on the sidelines again. So the next time you go, I'm reporting for duty, reporting for combat.
Oh, yeah. One last thing I wanted to touch on about this episode is I can't remember who he was talking to. I think it was May. But I love how Coulson is still really, really salty about Fury ruining his Captain America cards. I thought that was hilarious.
When did he say that?
I think May was talking about Fury giving him the plane when he was brought back to life. And he mentioned, yeah, and Fury also, like, ruined my cards or something. I don't know. It was just hilarious.
I must have missed it.
I don't know. I just love Coulson talking about his obsessions with old stuff.
Fair enough.
He's hilarious. So, Trey, what would you give this? Thumbs up, thumbs down, or somewhere in the middle?
I'll give it a definite thumbs up. What about you, Henry?
Somewhere in the middle. I can't handle gravitonium. Ah, it hurts my soul.
Fine, Henry, you hurt my soul.
Sorry.
You should be. Alright, I guess it's time for episode 4. Henry, what happened?
I spy with my little eye. There's a woman of unknown origin stealing unknown objects with seemingly magical powers, but they're not magical at all. She has an X-ray eye bomb in her head, and she's an ex-SHIELD agent. What's going on? Find out on this episode of Agents of SHIELD.
Yeah, so this episode's not as good as the last one.
It does some interesting things that I really like, though.
Like what?
Like the whole concept of people who are enslaved because they have a bomb in their head and have to do anything that they're told. It kind of reminds me of a Black Mirror episode, and I really like it, actually.
I was literally just thinking that exact same thing when you said it.
Yeah. There is a Black Mirror episode identical to this.
Yeah.
Well, no bombs in heads, but the same general concept of people being hostages and having to do things that they don't even know what they're doing.
And it's an interesting premise, I suppose. I don't really care.
Oh, but it's so cool. Okay, well, at first, when the episode begins and there's a bunch of people in red masks just walking around with briefcases, I remember thinking, okay, this is really weird. Everyone should be, like, gawking and taking pictures. Some people did, but I feel like a lot more people should be doing it when weird guys in red masks are walking around Sweden. But I don't know, maybe that's a normal thing to happen in Sweden.
That still doesn't make any sense to me. If you're transporting something super valuable like those diamonds, why would you all wear red creepy masks and handcuff briefcases to your thing and get on the train? I don't understand.
I mean, my guess is, like, no matter what, anyone who would rob them can tell who they are, so they might as well hide who the individual person is. My main issue is, why would they take the train? Why aren't they in, like, armored vehicles or something?
Why would they take the train? And, like, I feel like it just draws so much more attention to them with these red creepy masks.
I think they were trying to manipulate the audience into thinking something magical was happening, because we have these creepy guys in masks, and then we have this girl with seemingly psychic powers. It kind of reminded me of, like, Doctor Who or something for a minute.
I agree that it seemed like something magical was happening with the girl, and I do think they were, like, trying to show, like, mislead us by thinking something weird would happen with the guys in the masks.
Yeah, and that they were evil or something.
But it still doesn't make sense.
Nope. Not really.
Okay. So
it was artistic. I'll give them that.
I guess? So basically, I don't know, this whole episode can kind of be summed up in a few sentences, I think. The girl is like Coulson's protege, the girl who has the implant in her eye that's a camera.
And a bomb.
Yeah, and a bomb. So it's controlling her actions. She's enslaved to her owner, and Coulson wants to save her, and Agent May is like, you're blinded because she's your protege, so I'm gonna disobey you and go confront her anyway and take her to S.H.I.E.L.D. Which, I do like that May is sticking up to him and challenging him at this point, because I don't think she does that much later. But it's also never mentioned by him, and I'm surprised that they don't talk about it.
That is true. Yeah, these first episodes are really episodic, so they don't really deal with the aftermath of anything in later episodes. So yeah, you're right that they don't really deal with May.
Or even in this
betraying.
episode.
Yeah, I mean, because they're so busy dealing with the ex-SHIELD agent.
I just would expect Coulson to say something to her about his authority, and I don't know. I would expect something, like what happened with Skye in the next episodes.
I suppose. So, like I was saying before, I really like the concept of this episode. And it's really heartbreaking when you find out, once they rescue her, that she's been literally enslaved for years. She's been enslaved doing this for years, and before that she was in prison for years. So, this is an even greater hell than being imprisoned in, like, solitary confinement for years or something. And that's what she desperately wants back. That hell.
And to be honest, that's not what I was expecting at all. I didn't expect Coulson to be right in wanting to help her. I expected her to actually be like this rogue person who he shouldn't be helping. But it was just like, oh no, she actually is enslaved and Coulson was right. They should be helping her.
What a twist! Yeah, I thought this was a really dark and interesting episode. I did think it was really weird how Fitz hacked the system so easily to spoof the system.
You mean Sky?
Did Sky spoof it? Or okay, Fitz made the gear, Sky did the hacking. I found it weird how easily they did it, but it was really fun to see Ward pretending to be the ex-SHIELD agent. I really liked when Ward was pretending to be Amador. That seducing scene was hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Though I feel like the amount of things he did while wearing those glasses, he definitely would have seen his hands at some point, but
He was trying very hard to look straight.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's funny. We also have Fitz and Simmons in the bus performing the surgery. And that's whatever. I don't know. Like, you'd think they'd get a specialist or something, but sure, fine.
and they managed to extract the eye and cut the wire just before it detonates.
Indeed.
And then at the end, Coulson finds the handler that was giving her all of those instructions and supposedly the person in control of her. And the second he apprehends him coming out of the building, the dude's eye is like, what do you call it?
Melts it. Well, it kind of like melts his brain.
Yeah, and he instantly
I
dies.
was just calling them bombs.
So you find out that even her handler was controlled.
Just another pawn in the secret game.
Yeah. And they turn Amador over to S.H.I.E.L.D. for a fair trial, and then they insinuate... This was one thing that seemed kind of weird to me, was Amador, like, talking to May at the end. She's like, what did they do to him? Like, because he died, and apparently is different than he used to be. She's like, what did they do to him? And May's like, that kind of experience changes a person. And she's like, no, but what did they do to him? Like...
Well, apparently his personality is totally different. Like, he was way more uptight.
Apparently, but...
Like, it's so alien to all of them that she just doesn't get it.
She seems very certain that someone has completely changed his personality, and this is like the way that they're telling the audience something is completely wrong with Coulson,
Yeah.
which I don't think is even true.
Well, the reason why it really stands out is the fact that she hasn't even seen him in years. So she, of all people, should not be the one to say this.
Sure, I guess.
It is odd.
It's very weird, and they definitely continue to make a lot of comments about how different of a person Coulson is now, which really just makes me wonder what he was like before.
Yeah, apparently not a fun person.
Apparently?
Tahiti, it's a magical place. So Trey, what would you rate this one? Thumbs up, down, sideways, where? Yeah?
Middle, sideways, whatever.
Up! I am going up!
Of course you
I
are.
can't believe we are disagreeing on everything.
Well, let's see what we thought of the next one.
Okay.
Episode 5.
Indeed.
What is it about?
Well, Trey, let me tell you about the girl in the flowered dress, otherwise known as Fantastic Four Origins. This is a story about the Human Torch in China, who's also a magician, who apparently wasn't on the Avengers Initiative? Like, lineup? Wouldn't you think that Fury would be like, this guy has fire powers. Maybe he should be an Avenger. That seems like a great person to sign up for the Avengers. Firepower, Trey. Firepower. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's a good point that I didn't think
Yeah.
about.
Well, back into my summary. This man who was known as the Human Scorch
Oh my god.
is captured by this woman in the flowered dress who's from Centipede, that mysterious organization that was hinted at in the earlier episodes. And she wants to use him for experiments to fix their extremis Captain America serum thingy-mabobber. Can S.H.I.E.L.D. save him? And also, is Sky betraying them? Find out on this episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The Human Scorch, Trey. The Human Scorch. Who cares about the Fox deal? Disney already had the Human Scorch.
Well, not anymore.
Well, yeah, he's dead now.
He's dead.
He's very dead at the end of the episode.
Also, he was kind of evil.
Kind of, but he didn't have to be.
I
He was
agree.
totally chill in the beginning.
Yes.
He's just a magician with fire powers, and that's cool.
So, Yeah, I mean, this is the episode that introduces us to Reina, the girl in the flower dress.
So mysterious.
Yeah, and she seems like kind of a big bad, I guess. At least for Centipede.
Yeah, this is the first big episode about the Centipede, project team, and showing that it's going to become more important, like way more important down the line.
Yeah, and she was very misleading.
You mean when she was manipulating Scorch?
Yeah, I mean, her entire personality is just like, oh yeah, trust me, I'm so gentle, come with me. And then it's really like, yeah, we don't actually give a shit. Like, we're just gonna do whatever we want.
Yep.
Also, we find out that S.H.I.E.L.D. has an index of people with powers.
Yeah, which is one of the things that Sky was really not cool with.
Yeah, and they just told the fire dude to keep his powers quiet and under wraps, which, yeah, it is weird when you think about the Avengers and, like, why isn't he in there?
Well, to be fair, his powers seem to be very small scale until they pump him up with the super serum.
I guess that's true. But why does he need to keep it secret?
I mean, you should keep superpowers secret, I suppose, or else you're going to have people like Centipede try to experiment on you.
Yeah, but...
Also, this is just another example of it being really weird that S.H.I.E.L.D. apparently is an American organization, but also has way too much control around the world, since this is in China.
It's not American, though.
Isn't it?
Well, that's the thing that's made really unclear in the movies, because they're controlled by the World Security Council, which is not just America.
So why aren't there Chinese... I mean, there is the Chinese handler for Scorch, but, like, why isn't there the Chinese S.H.I.E.L.D. agency and the, like, Russian S.H.I.E.L.D. agency and the European S.H.I.E.L.D. agency?
Was the Chinese agency in this episode not S.H.I.E.L.D.?
It was just one dude. There's no evidence that he's actually, like, from China. He might just be someone, like a Chinese member of S.H.I.E.L.D. in America who was living in China to handle Scorch.
I thought it seemed like he was part of an agency in China, though.
It wasn't clear.
Apparently not.
Well, the other theme of the episode is, can you trust Sky or not? Because they found some information leading to Scorch through a hacker who was actually Sky's ex-boyfriend. And then they had sex.
Yeah,
and they found them afterwards.
Lee gasp.
Gasp.
Yeah, and
Sky can't be trusted.
I think the answer is no. You can't trust Sky. At least in this episode. But, yeah, and this episode does some very interesting things and some forward plot things, but I'm also not sure I really like it. I mean, it's interesting. I think the stuff with Sky is intriguing, and it forwards that plot a lot. And I mean, it all of it forwards plot, so there's that.
Yeah, this entire episode is just setup and setup. I can't remember how much more Rising Tide stuff appears, but this could be the end of it, really, to be honest. Because at the end, Sky's like, no, I choose S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm with you guys, even if you have to, like, lock me up to prove it, I will help you guys.
Yeah.
But this is just the beginning of the whole Centipede line. And I think it does a really good job at that, and I really like the Human Scorch. I think he was a really neat character, and I'm kind of bummed they killed him off, because it kind of would have been neat if Centipede got, like, their own evil Avengers of Scorch and other characters that were slowly piling up.
Yeah.
They could have made the Fantastic Four, Trey.
And killing him off, or making him evil seemed really unnecessary, too, because it was like, when S.H.I.E.L.D's coming in to save him, he's just like, well, I'm just gonna burn you alive, because clearly this is the time that I decide I want to be free of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Mike Peterson in the first episode. It's like, why did you make him evil? He was fine.
Well, that made sense, because it was...
I mean, it was a stretch. This one was weirder. For sure.
This one was weirder. Yeah, that part bothered me, and then they had to kill him. And also...
No, they didn't seem to have to, because they have tranq bullets, the night gun bullets.
You're right.
And they know how to cure extremis, this new centipede serum. They already did it in episode 1. So I don't know why they killed him. And I thought that was really lame.
Well, he wasn't taking the serum. That's not why he was going...
Yes, he was.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was. The whole reason why Centipede wanted him was his cells could handle the serum because apparently fire cancels out explosions.
You're right, but I don't think that's the reason that he was going crazy.
Oh, it wasn't the reason why he was going crazy, but it shows that S.H.I.E.L.D. could have protected him. They could have, they could have powered him down. They could have tranked him, removed the extremis, and then he would have only had basic fire powers, and then they could have locked him up until he calmed down. It seemed like a very aggressive, unnecessary thing to do. And that's my main gripe with the episode.
Yeah, I agree. And that was the second time in a row that it seemed to be unnecessary for them to kill someone. Because, like, literally, Coulson was trying to shoot him with the night-night gun and couldn't before because of his fire, but in the end, May could have easily injected him with the night-night gun or whatever, just done exactly what they needed to do, distracted him, shot him at that point. But instead, she injects him with the serum that kills him.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Like, they went... Not only did they not knock him out, they made it worse.
Yeah. And also, we see the doctor who's behind the centipede serum get burned, and Raina purposefully, like, leaves her to her death and, like, stops her from coming in the elevator with her, which... Why?
To distract the human Scorch.
It seemed like she wanted the doctor dead, and then at the end of the episode, she's like, the doctor's dead, and the guy she's talking to is like, about time. Like, what? I don't really get it.
Well, he's the clairvoyant.
He's not the clairvoyant.
So, wait, is he not? Oh, no. He talks to the clairvoyant somewhere in prison, I guess. They're a bit too silly with the names in the first season. Like, Centipede and the clairvoyant. It's like, Jesus, just have people be people. These are, like, secret agents dealing with, like, evil organizations. They don't need to have a clairvoyant.
Yeah, that's fine.
We just had a fake psychic person last episode. Why are you making another fake psychic person? Presumably. I don't know. I don't remember anything about the clairvoyant. I just know that every time they bring up psychic powers in S.H.I.E.L.D. so far, they say they don't exist, and then they get proved to be right. So I'm guessing the clairvoyant is the same.
Okay. Yeah, but again, this is like set up for the future. We now know that the clairvoyant is apparently behind everything, and this is his big plan, and they're now moving to phase 2 of that.
Yes.
But moving over to the Sky side of things, we get her... She warned Miles because they're such old friends, apparently, and
lovers.
Yeah, and she even tells S.H.I.E.L.D. that she didn't warn Miles because of Rising Tide allegiance. She warned him because, like, they look out for each other. She needed to warn her friend.
Yeah, plus he was her mentor and the one who taught her how to hack things.
Yeah, and that was kind of steamy, Henry.
Yeah, I realized that S.H.I.E.L.D. makes a lot of sexual jokes and sex, which is kind of funny because the movies are so PG and S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't.
Yeah.
Sky makes a lot of penis jokes, and it's weird.
I don't think I noticed. But then we do find out that Mile apparently sold his information for $1 million, and Sky gets really pissed off over that and is like, I don't know you at all. How dare you sell information? Clearly this means they're evil people if they're buying information.
I mean, she's right. No one would buy that information for that much money unless they had some sinister intentions.
Yes.
He should have known that.
I suppose.
But he's like, I did that for us, so we could have lived together. It's like, dude, tell her. Like, what are you doing?
I don't, like, yes, that is true, but I don't really blame someone who's getting paid $1 million for, like, this tiny little piece of information.
Their whole thing is that they're like for the people, by the people, against evil corporations and the evil government. It's against their code. I think Sky's perfectly in the right here.
Okay, it makes sense for Sky to be offended, but I think Coulson goes...
If I was the hacker, I would probably take it, because then I'd be set for life. But if I was Sky, I'd also be mad.
Yeah, but I think Coulson goes a bit overboard, like, with regard to it, because at the end of the episode, we get, like, oh, even though you, like, we set you free and you helped us, like, stop the bad thing that you started, we're going to make you wear this bracelet, which means we monitor everything you do forever. First of all. Second of all...
I didn't think about it that extreme.
Yeah. Second of all, you're going to find it hard to go near electronics for a while. What does that even mean?
I think the whole point is this band makes it so that he can't hack anymore. Which is weird because with S.H.I.E.L.D.'s current track record from what we've seen of the show so far and Item 47, you'd think they'd just hire him.
Yeah. Exactly. But then on top of that, like, if that's not enough, he's like, you can get off the plane now. And Miles is like,
They leave him in China?
Yeah, we're in Hong Kong. I live in Texas. And he's like, I don't know. He's just like, well, too bad. Get off. And
Yeah. What a dick move.
it just seems really unnecessary. Like, all he did, I don't know. I don't.
I'd have to rewatch the episode again, but yeah, he didn't seem that evil.
It just seems like we donated all of your money that you made from this deal to his family. You have no money, but we're going to leave you in Hong Kong and leave you to pay for your own way back to Texas, just because you hacked S.H.I.E.L.D. and sold the information. Even though Skye hacked S.H.I.E.L.D., she didn't sell the information, so we hired her. But you have to do way more.
Yep.
It really bothered me. It felt cruel, to be honest.
You know, I didn't realize how cruel it was until right now, and wow, yeah, it's pretty bad.
One other thing with the whole Skye situation in this episode is that Coulson is like super butthurt and is he talks to May and is like, you were right, she's a risk. Like, I should have listened to you. And they don't really make it clear at all what he expected to happen, because he literally said a few episodes ago, yes, I know that she's a risk. I mean, why would you...
I guess he was hopeful that she wouldn't be.
What? But, oh, okay. It makes no sense.
He should have known better.
But whatever. Then at the end, he like freaks out at her and is like, he's like, stop lying. You've been lying since you got here, to my face. You have a secret and one chance to come out with it right now. I mean, damn.
Yeah, it's the most intense we've ever seen Coulson.
Yeah, and then we get like Skye being completely genuine, I think, for kind of the first time, because she's like tearing up and she pulls a microchip out of her boob. And
it's a good place to store things.
Yeah. And she essentially says that she joined Rising Tide and S.H.I.E.L.D. for one reason, to find anything that she could about her parents, because there's no record of them anywhere, and her lifelong search has led her to one document redacted by S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. The entire concept of that is really weird. Like, why is it redacted? Why would you ever redact someone's parentage? But it is an interesting backstory of Skye just wants to know who her family is.
Agreed. Also, if you're going to redact it, then why have it if you deleted all the other records? But
Good point.
But then he gives her a bracelet to put on herself, so she has the same punishment as Miles, except she can still hack for S.H.I.E.L.D., so I don't really
I think
know.
she can only hack with approval.
I guess. Yeah. I do have to say that I'm glad that this happened now, because this seems like a plot that they could just not address till like the end of the season. Like, oh, is Skye actually betraying
Season
us?
7, Skye is still undercover.
Yeah. So I think it's good that they like figured out her allegiance with Rising Tide, and now like they're already addressing it. This might be the climax of Rising Tide. We don't know.
No, I wanted her to be undercover until Infinity War and to actually have been working for Thanos for the Rising Tide. Come on, Trey.
Oh, jeez.
That would have been...
Sure.
Yeah, I'm glad that they dealt with it now.
Yeah,
And I thought they handled it really well.
indeed. So, are we ready to...
Oh yeah, thumbs up. Anything for my Human Scorch.
Yeah, I guess I'll give it a thumbs up too.
We're agreeing. Oh my god. OMG.
First time this episode.
I know. It's absolutely crazy.
It is. Okay, so I think it's time for episode 6.
Did you just say episode 6?
Wait, is that what that's supposed to be?
I think it is.
Oh, I thought it was just supposed to be an abbreviation for Fitzsimmons somehow.
Fitz.
I mean,
What? How could
it is FZZT, which is very close to Fitz's name.
you? I mean, it's 3 of the letters plus an extra Z minus an I scrambled, so kind of.
But it also has dots like it's an acronym, and I don't know what it's supposed to be.
I don't either. I actually looked it up, and when I looked it up somewhere else, it didn't have the dots, so now I don't know what it is at all. I'm super confused.
Okay.
So I'm guessing it's the electric shock.
All right. So that's the title of the episode. In case we didn't make that clear enough. So
Yeah.
Henry,
Episode 6.
Henry, what happens in?
All right, so is an episode where strange electrical phenomenon is killing firefighters, and it seems that someone is doing something evil and mysterious causing it. But oh no, it is not something evil, it's just a virus. And now Gemma has contracted it as well. The agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are now traveling over the ocean, and with no help in sight, Gemma has 2 hours left to live. And only Gemma can save herself. Can she do it? Can she survive with the support of her team members in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Find out on this episode.
Yeah, this episode, I feel like the first half is like a completely different episode than the second half.
Exactly. And the first half is bad. I don't like the first half of this episode at all.
I would say it's average. It's definitely not like anything exciting. It's just like
We've already had a mystery floating episode with the gravity episode. Why did we have to do it again?
yeah, and this is why a lot of people aren't a fan of the beginning of S.H.I.E.L.D. because every episode is just like another mysterious thing. Okay, let's figure it out. But yeah,
Yeah, a bunch of firefighters cleaning a helmet. And they all got an alien disease that makes them float and get electrocuted.
I mean, it has a connection to Avengers, so cool,
Yeah,
I guess.
cool. This is one of the times where it's like, this is a stretch. Like, shouldn't more people have gotten this disease if this was common among the Chitauri?
I agree. And also,
Like-
if people are able to save the Chitauri helmet as a souvenir, which seems like they wouldn't allow.
Yeah. I mean, they were firefighters. They were like the first responders, in theory, after the battle finished. But still, I wouldn't let them keep an alien artifact like that. Also, does that mean that they took it off of Chitauri, or did it fall off? Do Chitauri helmets have straps?
I don't know.
How do they stay on?
Whatever.
This is an important question, Trey.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we'll just jump into the second half of the episode, yeah? I don't think we have anything to say about the first half.
Other than it's boring.
Yeah, the second half gets pretty intense because it takes this, like, really underwhelming beginning and suddenly escalates it to, oh, a member of the main team is actually, like, super in danger and going to die.
And it's the first Gemma Fitz focused episode.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I actually forgot to say is that we get kind of an awkward amount of Fitz crushing on Skye in this episode,
A bit, yeah.
which just feels really out of place and weird. And the fact that he's just like, oh, Gemma, psh, just feels so weird. Because the first time I watched this, I was like, aren't they already, like, in love and together?
They are. In season 1, you can't even ship them because they are one character. They just are a thing.
I don't even think they're one character, but they're, like, so close that you're like, what do you mean you're not together?
Yeah, they don't really talk about that yet much, which is weird, because you'd think that everyone would be like, oh, are they dating? No. And you'd expect Fitz to be more awkward about it or something.
Well, apparently this was him telling us because he's like, Simmons.
I don't really recall that detail, to be honest.
What?
But that's funny.
Well, he shows his true feeling. Well, not really. He shows that he cares deeply for her by the end of the episode because he's like freaking out.
We're in this together.
Yeah. And we see their deep relationship and cuteness as they fight and freak out about her about to die.
Yeah.
And Fitz even like risks his own life and goes into the quarantine zone to bring her the secret to what might cure her.
Speaking of which,
What?
they should have already known that being that close to someone before they actually die is fine, since all of those campers were fine and all the other firefighters are fine. It was just the 3 that were touching the helmet. If not, they should have stayed around and checked on the other firefighters more.
They did, though. They took all of the firefighters to that facility.
Yeah, but not the campers.
The campers, no. But the firefighters, they are still examining.
Okay.
But, yeah, I mean, it is unclear. Like, yes, it's true that that's true, but viruses are questionable and whatever.
Yeah.
But when it seems like the cure is going to fail, Gemma hits Fitz over the head with fire extinguisher.
Why was that necessary?
Because he would have stopped her.
It's good.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a better way than knocking him out.
Maybe?
I guess making him give up was next to impossible, but I think he would have eventually caved in, and then they could have had a final moment before she jumped out. Or she could have delivered a final message to Fitz through, like, Skye or Ward and be like, hey, I gotta do it. Tell him I miss him and I love him and thank you for everything you've done. And then she jumps.
Except...
It was weird that she was gonna jump without contacting anyone else either.
No, because Coulson... It was against Coulson's orders. Like, he would refuse to let her do that.
Oh, really?
And-
I figured at that point he would have.
No. Did you miss the whole thing of he's not taking, like, the head shields people's calls because he refuses to listen to the order to get rid of her?
Well, no, I mean, this is how I understood it. Coulson didn't want to give up without a fight. They were just like, just bail. Just get rid of her now, as soon as possible.
Yes, and then after she jumps herself, he yells at her that that's not her call to make.
I don't remember that part.
He
I just remember Fitz being like, oh no, I have the cure! And then he's like, I can save you! And then Ward's like, let me do it. And then he does!
I think they make it very clear that Coulson's not willing to make the call, so she makes the call for him because she doesn't want everyone to die because of her. And that's why the drama and knocking Fitz out and, like, jumping.
Alright. Yeah, it's just hard to remember all the details while covering this many episodes. I just remember focusing a lot more on Gemma and Fitz. So the characters surrounding, I don't really remember the details as much.
Yeah, so then we get, like, that awkward drama of, oh, the mouse was actually cured, so you don't need to jump just before she jumps, but Fitz can't get out to tell her, so she just is like, okay, bye, I'm just gonna die now. And
Then skydiving scene.
yeah, Fitz actually, like, tries to be brave and goes and grabs a parachute and is like, I'm jumping after her, even though I'm, like, would never do something like this. But then Ward beats him to it and is like, yo, I'm the super agent. This is all unspoken.
Let me do it.
Yeah.
I'm a specialist.
Yeah.
This is one of the only parts of S.H.I.E.L.D. so far that's had pretty bad effects, to be honest. The skydiving wasn't very good.
I didn't have a problem with it.
Okay. Like I said in our first episode about S.H.I.E.L.D. is TV shows involving superpowers, especially during this time, usually have very bad effects, but S.H.I.E.L.D. has been extraordinarily good so far. But I thought the skydiving was pretty weak.
Okay.
Ward didn't look like he was really diving. I didn't like it.
I didn't notice anything bad.
Well, I did.
But I think I like that they had Ward do it.
It made more sense.
Yeah.
Then Ward would have had to jump and save both of them.
Yeah, and it's the first time we see Ward, like, actively care about them, too.
Yeah, like Ward's the big brother of the entire group. And part of why it's important that he's the one who did it is that they were making fun of him the whole episode with the gun.
Yeah, good point.
So they thought Ward hated them, but they realized Ward really did care about them. And when Simmons arrives back on the plane, she apologizes profusely about the gun thing. Like the whole 1 ounce off.
Yeah. The next thing we see right after Ward catches Gemma and gives her the vaccine, or the anti-serum.
Yes, you have to be very precise. It's the anti-serum. I love Gemma.
Yeah, the next thing we see is her and Ward getting screamed at by Coulson that it's not their call to make, and how dare she jump. And then he's like, we'd hate to lose you, which that's like the only part where you can see like the emotion, like we'd hate to lose you, but then he's like, you're free to go. And I don't know. I don't know. It felt kind of off. I thought he would be happier first.
Apparently it wasn't very memorable to me because I don't even remember.
Wow.
I was focused on Fitz and Simmons, and then they have their cute scene in the end where Fitz is like, I wanted to be your hero, and then Ward was the one who saved you, and then she's like, no, you were the one with me, and you're the one who made that serum, and you were my hero. And then it's cute.
Yeah.
Aw, Fitz and Simmons.
Oh, we do also get a little bit of the reaction to Sky's betrayal, because we see like Fitz just completely ignoring that she ever even betrayed them, which is kind of weird because he's like, I just have a crush, so I don't care that you completely betrayed us. And Ward is holding on to it so much that he's like, I refuse to ever trust you again, until like the middle of the episode when he warms up to her more. But yeah, that's really all we see of the team. It seems like it's worth mentioning.
Yeah. I mean, once again, this wasn't really that much of a team episode. It was a Fitzsimmons episode. And I really like that everyone's getting their time to shine. The only character who hasn't really yet is May.
Yes.
And I guess Coulson, to be honest. Like, he's just, like, always the secondary character. He's never, like, the focus of the plot.
Kind of, but I feel like he's always the main character, too.
I guess. But, like, there hasn't been an episode about Coulson's backstory or what is going on with Tahiti. It's a magical place, and, oh, he's different now. They're hinting at a Coulson-focused story, and we haven't gotten it yet. We just get the background about Coulson requesting his own medical examination. And we learn that Coulson is paranoid and does feel different.
Yeah, because he tells May in this episode that he's getting all these physicals because he feels, or he doesn't feel fine. He feels different, and May's like, you feel different because you are different. That's what happens when you go through trauma.
He's growing. He's a growing boy.
Yeah.
So, Trey, thumbs up, thumbs down, or in the middle?
I'm kind of between thumbs up and middle, but I feel like rewatching this episode is not as good as the first time because all the drama was taken out of it because I already knew what happened and I knew Simmons was going to be completely fine. But remembering the first time that I watched it, I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, this episode's really hard to judge because half of it is bad. Like, the first half is totally thumbs down. The second half I'd give thumbs up. So I'm like, do I go in the middle or thumbs up? Because the second half's all that matters. And it's good, like really good, I guess. So, I'll give it a thumbs up. Plenty of cute Fitzsimmons, and I love Fitzsimmons.
Cool.
So now that we've gone over all of the episode, I believe we should give a best of the bunch rating. So which is your favorite among these four?
My favorite is episode 3.
Ooh, Gravitonium.
Yeah.
Ew. Can you guess which one mine is?
5?
Yeah, Human Scorch. He's great. He shoots fire. He should be in the Avengers.
Yeah. Except he dead and evil.
Aww. So sad. So sad. One thing that I've always been a little bummed about in the MCU, not S.H.I.E.L.D., because S.H.I.E.L.D. does make original characters, is I don't like that there hasn't been an original MCU superhero yet. I thought that would be something really cool to see. And although we get explored a bit in S.H.I.E.L.D., we don't get anyone like the Human Scorch appearing in a movie who's a completely original movie character. And I think that'd be cool.
Why?
Because there's things that you can do. There are different things you can do in different mediums. So something will work better as a comic and something will work better as a movie. And although they have a huge repertoire of characters to show from the comics, I think having one original character would be really exciting. Also, it would be a great way to add a new female character, since if you're trying to even out the playing field of how many boys and girls there are less female superheroes, because back in the day there were just way more male superheroes. And unless you just use the female versions of other heroes like She-Hulk, Spider-Woman, Spider-Gwen, like other female versions of male heroes, it's just not impressive. So creating a brand new female character, I thought would have been cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, the entire premise of the MCU has been, like, making good movies about their comics characters, so it's kind of hard for me to see them actually making an original superhero.
I just want one.
I definitely think they need to make more female superheroes, though.
Yeah. This is something I cared a lot more about during Phase 2, when they were expanding a lot. Now I don't really mind it as much, especially because we are getting a lot more female superheroes in the upcoming movies. Like, we're finally getting Wasp as a protagonist of a movie. We're getting Captain Marvel. We've gotten Mantis. Like, more and more female characters are popping in, and I'm sure in Phase 4 we're going to get even more. But this is how I wanted them to fix it in the beginning, but now it's okay. They have work to do.
Yeah.
I just really hope they don't introduce characters like She-Hulk, because I think female versions of male characters is really boring, even though She-Hulk I know is one of the most distinct ones from her male counterpart.
To be honest, so many people have said that she's their favorite that I want to see what she's like.
True. She's the only one. I don't want Spider-Gwen or any of those.
I want all of them.
Okay. Let's have every single Spider-Man ever, all 100 billion.
That sounds amazing. Put them all in one film.
Yeah, next year we're getting that animated one.
Eh.
Well, anyways, I suppose we're done with this episode. So, Trey, where can they find us?
You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at Marvelous MCU. You can find us on Instagram at Marvelous MCU Podcast, and you can send us an email at marvelousmcupodcast@gmail.com.
So wherever you listen to this podcast, whether it's iTunes or YouTube or Google, please like, rate, subscribe, and make sure you leave a comment. If you leave a comment or email us, we might read this on the podcast. And please share the podcast with anyone you know who loves Marvel just like we do, because we want to share this with everyone.
So thanks for tuning in, and we hope you'll join us next time for Thor: The Dark World.